The problem with vacation flings is that they're supposed to stay on vacation. That was the deal. One night. No names that mattered. No expectations. Just a story you tell yourself later. At least, that's what I thought when I met him. It happened on my last night in Santorini. The island was glowing under the sunset. Music drifting out of beach bars. Tourists everywhere. The ocean reflecting gold and orange light. I had spent the entire week relaxing, trying not to think about work waiting for me back home, which is probably why I said yes when the bartender pointed at the empty seat next to him. "Someone's been trying to get your attention," she said with a smile. I turned, and that's when I saw him. He looked like he belonged in one of those expensive travel magazines. Dark hair, rolled up sleeves, the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. He lifted his glass slightly. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked. "You're already sitting there," I replied. He laughed. "Fair point." His name was Ethan. That's all he told me. No last name, no job, no life story, just Ethan. And strangely, I didn't ask for more, because the conversation felt easy. We talked about travel, about music, about how vacation always makes people act like slightly different versions of themselves. "At home," Ethan said at one point, "people take life too seriously. And you don't. Not tonight." Hours passed without either of us noticing. At some point, the bar got louder. Music, dancing, tourists crowding the tables. Ethan leaned closer so I could hear him. "Want to get some air?" he asked. I nodded. We stepped outside toward the beach. The night breeze coming off the water felt cool against my skin. For a moment, we just walked along the shoreline. Neither of us is speaking. Then Ethan stopped, turned toward me, and said quietly, "I've been trying not to do something all night." "What?" "This." Then he kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't awkward. It was the kind of kiss that feels like it's been building the entire evening. His hand moved to my jaw, pulling me closer as the waves crashed softly behind us. When we finally pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead briefly against mine. "That probably breaks the rules," he murmured. "What rules?" "The vacation rules." I smiled slightly. "Those rules sound boring." He laughed. "Good." The next morning I woke up alone. No note, no message, nothing except the memory of the night before, which honestly was exactly what we both expected. Vacation flings aren't meant to follow you home. Or at least, they aren't supposed to, until 3 weeks later. When I walked into the office conference room on Monday morning, and the man standing at the front of the table, introducing himself as the new CEO, was Ethan, my vacation fling. And judging by the look on his face when he saw me, he remembered everything, too. For a moment, I thought I had walked into the wrong room, but I hadn't. Ethan was standing at the front of the conference table in a dark suit, speaking confidently to the entire department. "And I'm excited to work with all of you moving forward," he was saying. The words barely registered in my mind, because all I could think about was the beach in Santorini, the sound of waves, and the fact that 3 weeks ago, this man had kissed me like the world didn't exist. Now he was my boss, my CEO. My manager leaned toward me and whispered, "That's the new guy." "Yeah," I said slowly. "I figured." Ethan's eyes moved across the room while he spoke. Professional, calm, completely in control. Then his gaze landed on me. For a split second, he froze. Not long enough for anyone else to notice, but long enough for me to see the recognition in his eyes. And something else. Shock. But just as quickly, the moment disappeared. His expression returned to the same calm confidence he had walked in with. "Let's have a productive year," he finished. The room filled with polite applause. The meeting ended. People began gathering their things and chatting excitedly. I stayed seated, trying to process the situation, because the man from that beach had just become the most powerful person in the company, and somehow neither of us had known. I almost made it to the door before someone called my name. "Hey!" I stopped, turned slowly. Ethan was standing a few feet behind me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, "You work here." It sounded more like a realization than a question. Apparently, he ran a hand through his hair, clearly trying to stay calm. "This is unexpected. That's one way to put it." Ethan glanced down the hallway to make sure no one else was nearby. Then his voice dropped slightly. "You didn't tell me where you worked. You didn't ask. That's fair." Silence stretched between us. The tension was almost identical to that night on the beach. Except now we were standing under office lights with coworkers walking past every few seconds. "You should go," I said quietly. "Why?" "Because if someone sees us standing here looking like this," I gestured between us, "they're going to start asking questions." Ethan's mouth twitched slightly. "Looking like what?" "Like we've met before." His eyes held mine for a moment. Then he nodded. "You're right." Before walking away, he added softly, "We should probably pretend that night never happened." My stomach tightened. Probably. For the next few days, that's exactly what we did. Pretended. In meetings, Ethan treated me exactly like every other employee. Professional. Distant. Like we had never shared a quiet beach and a dangerous kiss under the stars. But something had changed. Because every time we were in the same room, I could feel his attention shift toward me. Subtle, careful, but impossible to miss. Then Thursday afternoon, something happened that made things worse. Much worse. I was standing near the coffee machine when Mark from marketing walked over. "You heading to the happy hour tonight?" he asked. "Maybe. You should come." He smiled. "There's a bar across the street that makes amazing margaritas." Before I could answer, a voice interrupted behind us. "Mark." We both turned. Ethan, standing a few steps away. His expression was calm, but his eyes were locked on Mark. "Do you have those quarterly numbers I asked for?" Ethan said. Mark blinked. Yeah, I can send them." "I'd appreciate that." "Right, of course." Mark suddenly looked less interested in margaritas. "Catch you later," he muttered before quickly walking away. I turned back toward Ethan slowly. "You scared him." I asked him a work question. "You interrupted a conversation." Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "He's not good enough for you." The words came out before he could stop them. My heart skipped. "You're my boss," I said quietly. "You don't get to say things like that." Ethan exhaled slowly. "You're right." But the way he looked at me made one thing painfully clear. Pretending that night never happened, it was becoming much harder than either of us expected. For the next week, Ethan and I kept our distance, at least on the surface. In meetings, he treated me exactly like everyone else. Professional, cold, focused. If someone had watched us, they would have thought we had never met before. But every once in a while, I would catch him looking at me. Not long. Just long enough to remind me of that night in Santorini. And the more we pretended nothing had happened, the more impossible it felt. Then Friday night happened. The company hosted a networking event at a rooftop bar downtown. Drinks, music, executives talking to clients. The kind of event where everyone tries to look relaxed while secretly talking about work. I almost didn't go, but my manager insisted. "Attendance is important," she said. So there I was, standing near the bar with a drink in my hand, trying not to notice that Ethan was on the other side of the rooftop talking to investors. Mark from marketing appeared beside me again. "Hey," he said with a grin. "You made it." "Barely." He laughed. "Come on, loosen up. This is supposed to be the fun part of the job." He ordered another drink and handed it to me. "You owe me one margarita now." "Do I?" "Yeah." Then he leaned slightly closer. "You still haven't answered my question from earlier this week." "What question?" "Whether you want to grab dinner sometime." Before I could respond, a voice behind us said quietly, "Mark." We both turned. Ethan was standing there again, but this time he wasn't wearing his calm CEO expression. His jaw was tight. "Can I borrow him for a moment?" Ethan said. Mark blinked. Sure." Then he quickly disappeared into the crowd, leaving the two of us standing alone near the edge of the rooftop. "You need to stop doing that," I said quietly. "Doing what?" "Scaring away anyone who talks to me." Ethan looked out over the city lights. "I'm not scaring them away. You are." Silence stretched between us. Finally, he said something under his breath. "I don't like the way he looks at you." My heart skipped. "You're my boss," I reminded him. "I know. And you told me we should pretend that night never happened." "I remember." "Then why are you acting like this?" Ethan turned toward me. For the first time since he became CEO, he looked like the man from that beach again. Not the composed executive. Just Ethan. "I tried," he admitted quietly. "Tried what?" "To ignore it. To ignore what happened in Santorini." The honesty in his voice made it impossible to look away. "And?" I asked. "And it's not working." My pulse started beating faster. "Ethan." He stepped a little closer. Not enough to attract attention, but enough that the tension between us returned instantly. "You think I forgot that night?" he said softly. "I tried to convince myself it didn't mean anything. But every time I see you at work." He paused. "It feels like I'm back on that beach again." The city wind moved through the rooftop. Music drifted from the speakers behind us. "You can't say things like that here," I said. "Why not?" "Because people are watching." Ethan glanced around. Most of the employees were busy talking and laughing. No one was paying attention to us. When he looked back at me, his voice dropped lower. "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "That if we weren't surrounded by half the company right now." His eyes held mine. "I'd probably kiss you again." My heart slammed in my chest. "Ethan." "Yeah. You really need to stop saying things like that." "Why?" "Because it makes it harder to pretend we're strangers." For a moment, neither of us moved. The tension between us felt almost identical to that night in Santorini. Then Ethan said quietly, "I don't think I want to pretend anymore." And the way he looked at me made it very clear. This story wasn't going to end quietly. For a moment, neither of us moved. The rooftop bar was still full of people talking and laughing, but it felt like the entire world had gone quiet around us. Ethan's words were still hanging in the air. "I don't think I want to pretend anymore." I looked away toward the city lights. "You don't get to say that so easily," I said quietly. "Why not?" "Because you're the CEO. And I'm an employee." Ethan exhaled slowly. "I know exactly what the situation is." "Then act like it." For a moment he didn't respond. Instead, he leaned his hands against the railing, staring out at the skyline. "You know what the worst part about this week has been?" he said finally. "What?" "Walking past you every day like that night meant nothing." My chest tightened. "It was a vacation," I said. "That's what we told ourselves." "And now?" Ethan looked back at me. "Now I'm realizing that might have been a mistake." Behind us, the party was getting louder. Someone was laughing near the bar. Music started playing again, but neither of us moved. "You said we should forget it," I reminded him. "I did. And now you're saying the opposite." "Yeah." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't expect to see you again. That makes two of us. And now that I have..." He hesitated. "Pretending feels worse than the risk." My pulse jumped. "You're talking about risking your entire position in this company." "I'm talking about being honest." For a long moment I just watched him, trying to understand whether this was the same man from the beach or someone different. "You realize people will talk," I said. "They already do. HR will have opinions." Ethan laughed quietly. "I'm the CEO. I think I can survive a meeting with HR." I couldn't help smiling slightly. "You're impossible." "Probably." Then he stepped a little closer, careful, like he was still giving me the chance to walk away. "So let me ask you something," he said. "What?" "If I hadn't become your boss." He held my gaze. "Would you have wanted to see me again?" The answer came out before I could stop it. "Yes." Ethan smiled slowly. "Good. Why?" Because that means I'm not the only one who's been thinking about Santorini. For the first time since the rooftop conversation started, the tension between us felt lighter. Not gone, just honest. So what happens now? I asked. Ethan thought about it for a moment. Then he said simply, we stop pretending that night didn't matter. And the job? We handle it like adults. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds suspiciously responsible. I try to surprise people sometimes. The wind moved through the rooftop again, and suddenly the situation didn't feel impossible anymore. Just complicated, which somehow felt easier to deal with. Ethan glanced toward the crowd inside the party. Looks like I should probably go talk to investors before they think I quit my job tonight. Probably. He started walking away, then stopped, turned back toward me. For what it's worth, he said quietly, Santorini wasn't just a vacation memory for me. My heart skipped. Good, I said, because it wasn't for me either. And for the first time since that night on the beach, it felt like the story we started there might actually have a second chapter.